Hey everybody, I'm John Finn and welcome to an unboxing and review of Thor from Thor, Love and Thunder. Really super excited to have found this in store. Really excited to get him open and take a closer look. So let's go ahead and let's get going. Alright, so first things first, this guy looks totally badass. I love the design, I love the colors, I love the kind of the opulence of the sculpt and things like that. It's really freaking sweet. So just to get that out of the way, it's already approved. It only comes with a couple of accessories though. It comes with Stormbringer here and an extra closed fist for that right hand, which is what I'm using to have him hold the Stormbringer axe. And he has a kind of an open left hand grip, which I guess is for his lightning powers or something. The cape is a part of the sculpt itself. It can't come off. It is attached right here on the front of his armor, which is fine. I do wish it was a soft goods cape. It is that kind of pliable plastic, which it looks cool, you know, in static, but I do prefer cloth capes. That's just from the Superpowers line back in the 80s. That's what I've always preferred. But overall, the design, the detail is really cool. It isn't exactly as we've seen from the movie. Now, no one has seen the movie at this point because it's coming out in about a month's time from when I'm recording this, maybe a little bit less. In the previews, though, he doesn't have these sleeves on the armor. Those are just bare, which, I mean, come on, you want to see Chris Hemsworth's arms when he's playing Thor because dude is stacked. He's got some pretty cool detail though. Let's take a closer look here and you can see how the sculpts, I mean, they go down into the boots, his loincloth here, up into the armor. The sleeves have a nice kind of scale mold to them. The helmet, I gotta say, the helmet was probably my most disappointing part because the eyes are just kind of, they're like in there, but they're really low. You can kind of see them at the bottom of the holes for the helmet itself. You can see them peeking out, which is a little bit weird. I wish they would have made so the helmet would fit properly and have his eyes sit in a little bit of a better place because he looks a little bit cross-eyed like that. There's nothing wrong with that necessarily. I just wish it was a little bit different. He has a majestic mane of hair back here with some just really good detail. You couldn't do that with Doll's hair. It does affect the posability some though because you can't look up. He does have the hinge you can see there to allow him to look up, but it doesn't really go anywhere. He can look down though, which again, it causes problems with the hair because it looks like he's looking down into a fan or something. Not a terrible thing, but just something to keep in mind. It's going to limit the way you can pose this guy. It does go left to right pretty easy, and the wings on the helmet are fairly flexible. They're not super stiff or anything like that, so they will move around and things. He has the standard articulation for the Marvel Legends series, which means he's got the shoulder, he has the elbow, he has the bicep swivel, he has the wrist swivel, wrist hinge as well on each arm. He's got the newer torso that has the ab crunch and rollabout, more like the AEW figures we've seen and the Marvel Legends Eternals figures had. Some of the other figures like Spider-Man, Armor Mark I had the traditional ab crunch action. This guy has the more flexible torso. His legs, again, they'll go out, they'll go forward, they'll go back. They've got the double jointed knees and the hinge and ball joint on the foot itself. There is a thigh cut. He has no waist swivel. So that's one thing that's different about this new articulation scheme is there is no waist twist at all. It's all in the upper torso. So keep that in mind as well if you're thinking about buying this. The flexibility of posing isn't quite where maybe you might want it to be, especially if that waist action is important. On this figure, I don't think it matters quite as much because the armor does cover a lot of that, so you're not... And the way the upper torso twists, you can really get him into some cool positions, so it's not that big of a deal. But just keep that in mind if you're looking into getting this, that is just one little thing. Colors on him are super duper bright and vivid. I love that. It has a little bit more of a comic booky look than you would expect from a movie figure, which I am totally okay with. I'm going to grab my other Thor figure, which is actually a Ragnarok figure, but I have him set up as Thor, just so we can compare their heights and things, and then we'll close up and I'll give you my final impressions. All right, as you can see, these two are virtually the same height, and Ragnarok is technically a robotic clone of Thor, but they pretty much match up, which is pretty cool considering one is definitely from the comic and one is definitely from the movies. And you can see how the classic Thor design inspired this new design from the Love and Thunder movie. You can see the plates on the round plates on the torso and stuff. Now, something I did notice when getting out the Ragnarok figure to compare is that he has the new app crunch stuff, but he also has waist swivel. So it looks like it's kind of hit and miss depending on whether or not a figure is going to get waist swivel. It looks like it might depend maybe on how the sculpt for the torso extends down over the waist as to whether or not they're going to work it in. So this Thor on the right, the Ragnarok Thor, definitely has a little bit more posability for it, but the detail for me on the Love and Thunder Thor really does make up for the difference in articulation, because it's so small. It's just the waist. That's the only thing that's different. And, well, I mean, the upper torso is a little bit more posable than it is on Ragnarok Thor, because it's a little bit stiff and doesn't have much leeway on him. If I can get this guy to stand. Jesus Christ. There we go. So you can see, like, it does, but it's very stiff, and it doesn't have much give or leeway to either direction. Another thing about both of these figures is they can be a real bastard to get to stand upright, because the cape, being non-soft goods, is pretty heavy and stiff and really does make them want to fall backwards quite a bit. You can also notice the capes are different shades of red. This is a much more darker, I don't even know how to describe that red, where this is much more of an orangey bright red. It's weird because I usually prefer the brighter colors, and I do prefer this figure for this, but usually the comic book based ones have the more vivid colors, where in this case, because it is a Thor movie, it seems they've really upped the color and the vividness of the color for this figure from the Love and Thunder movie, which I am all about. Like, I am all about. I'm going to suit this guy up with the Mjolnir accessory that comes with Ragnarok real quick before we close out, just so we can see how that looks. Well, you learn something new every day, and I think I know why the Thor Ragnarok figure or the Ragnarok Thor figure has a stiffer articulation, and it's to hold this super duper heavy accessory, because this Love and Thunder Thor does not want to hold it in one specific place, and it's really having a hard time. There we go. Look at that. That's a thing of beauty. I don't care who you are. That's beautiful. That's awesome. I really dig this. This is a cool figure. It's from a movie that I'm sure is going to be wacky and fun, and I'm pretty excited for it. I'm not super big. I enjoy the MCU movies and stuff, but the Thor movies are my favorite because they're usually pretty over the top in comparison. They've got a lot more bright colors, and I don't know, Chris Hemsworth's portrayal of Thor has just been spot on in my opinion. So I'm really looking forward to the next one, and I am over the moon with this particular figure. So if you're thinking about buying him, if this is something you've been having your eye on, if you see him on the shelf, I definitely recommend him, and maybe even buy him from like an Amazon, maybe a secondary seller if you can get it for under $30. But if you can find it at retail, I absolutely recommend this if you're a Marvel Legends collector. It's got such great detail in the armor. It's got okay accessories. The accessories are probably the least fun part about it. You just get an extra hand sculpt and a single weapon. But the overall detail and vividness of the figure is just top notch. So I definitely recommend this. I hope this gave you an idea as to whether or not this is one you want to add to your collection, and I hope you keep collecting the way you like to collect, whether that's keeping your figures mock, whether that's opening them for display or for play. However you like to do it's the right way to do it. And if anybody else tells you otherwise, tell them you're going to send the God of Thunder and Stormbringer to bury it deep into their chest and slay them before the gods and stuff. Anyway, I'm John Finn, and I'm out.